My game is running so slow. Why is Ubisoft not improving the performance of X4? Why are they not focusing on making the game faster? I want to talk about that today. What is going on with the performance in X4 Foundations? And why do you need to think about X4 in a different way than for any other game you're playing? I make this video because of two reasons. One is to post it whenever someone tells me, why is the game performing so bad? And number two is to describe to all the people that want to know what's going on a little bit of the technical details in the background. Although I am not a developer and I do not have insight in how it exactly works, I have a pretty good understanding in how it all functions. Why am I qualified? I'm making videos about this game since 2019, and I'm also having more than 1,500 hours in this game. And I'm constantly in talks with the developers, and especially for this video, I was talking with Bernd Lehan about some of the technical details in the background of the game. But before that, I want to tell you about a fantastic company. Nifter, a company from my hometown, has got amazing custom keyboards in German layout right now. I am using their Niftboard Gen 2 98% with pre-looped Gator and G Pro 2 yellow switches. They also have a variation of very cool high-end desk pads. You can even get your custom designs. Check them out, I got the link in the description below. So with version 7.0, Ubisoft introduced something that is as close to DLSS as we can get. It's called TAA and it's temporal anti-aliasing. That means that your game is in some cases temporarily working on anti-aliasing and making your game look smooth so that it appears that there are more pixels on the screen and the surfaces are working out way smoother than it actually is. Why do I say that this is close to DLSS? Because that's one of the parts that DLSS is actually using to give such a good performance. One of the things that Ubisoft does not do, which would be even more closer to DLSS, is like upscaling. Although we do have FSR in the game, DLSS would combine all of that and some more stuff like AI and things. But TAA is a part of it. And what TAA does, it smooths your game out to look better. So you could probably run this game with a lower resolution and still have a pretty good looking image. And that's where DLSS will do some upscaling, you know, like render a scene at a lower resolution, then upscale it and then smooth it out with TAA. What Ubisoft does at the moment is just smoothing out the game, so you can play with a very sharp, good-looking image, although it will not use up your GPU power that much because it's just temporarily. But that's just one thing on how the game works, and for the next thing, I want to show you a little bit more in-game what's really happening, and I want to change your view of X4 a little bit, since you are flying around here in this space, right? That is basically like you're playing any other game. Like you're in first person, you see what's around you, and only the few parts that are actually around you are being rendered and are being simulated. You know, X4 is a simulation, and everything that happens in this universe needs to be somehow computed. And when you're in first person, only in my experience, only the stuff that's like 40 kilometers around you is being simulated and is working out as if you were there. Everything that's outside of you, what we call in X4 OOS, out of sector, is basically everything that's 40 kilometers and more away from you. Everything that's out of sector is being calculated in the background right now when we are in this scene. That means when you have a trader, for example, that's flying from station A to B, there is a timer basically going on. That trader will have the order, okay, it just bought something, now it's 10:20, and the trader should arrive at the other station at 10:25. And what Bernd told me is what's basically happening is that that trader is not using up any computing power in that moment, because it's just simulated that it's flying from A to B in that specific time. And only when that timer run out, there is a new calculation going on what the trader will do as the next step, and then a new timer starts. Only when it gets interrupted by, for example, a pirate or something, or it gets attacked, then there is a little bit of a new computation going on, and there is the simulation, it changes a little bit, then it needs a little bit of calculation in that moment. Everything else that's happening in the game is not being shown to you, and it's basically just running in the background, not in real time. Once you open up the map, this is where a lot of people will say, oh, it's just such a bad performance, and why does everything just work so bad? And when I go into my map, I only have like 20 FPS. Let me tell you something. This is basically what you get in other online games as the server. So what you usually got in MMOs, for example, or like games like Star Citizen or whatsoever, these games have server FPS. And the server FPS are calculating, let's say, for example, Star Citizen uses around 6 or 7 FPS for their servers. So they are calculating 6 or 7 times a second what is happening in the entire server. But here, your PC needs to do all of that computation on your PC. So your PC is the server. And what you are seeing right now is basically something like the server FPS. Because what I told you right before, that a trader is only simulated to fly from A to B, now needs to be calculated and shown to you where exactly is its position. What exactly is it doing? Is there something interfering? Is there someone flying around there? Is there docking happening? Where are they flying around? Are they going through a highway? Or what else is going on? Are the things changing? What are the prices that are going on here? Is there a fight happening? How is the fight happening? Where are the ships that are around in that fight? All of that needs to be calculated in real time. When I take a look at that fight, okay, I see what's going on. There are Xenon ships around that construction vessel. And now I go out of the map. What happens now is that calculation is still running, but in the background. You do not need exact positions anymore. You do not need exact damage values anymore. It's still like happening in the background, and it's still going on and going on. And when I open the map, all of that needs to be recalculated, and it needs to show me, okay, where exactly are the ships. I am now looking at the server again. When you know that other servers run at 6 or 7 FPS, maybe some are running at 10 FPS, and like for example, games that are competitive FPS games sometimes run at 30 or 60 FPS, the server tick rate, so-called. That decides on how precise everything is running in your galaxy. But this game is a single-player game, and it's like basically a management game most of the time. So why would you need more than, let's say, 10 FPS running on a server? When closing that, and you got some good FPS when you are flying around your system, that does matter way more for you, don't you? Because that's where the game has to be fluid, and that's where your experience really happens with the game world. And when you experience heavy load in this scene, and you're having quite a hard time to render all that stuff, and you have low FPS, this could be possible because, one, there is just too much stuff around you in that 40-kilometer radius that I was talking about that needs to be rendered and calculated and whatsoever. That's one thing. And the second thing is you're lacking power. Maybe your settings are just too high and you need to lower your settings. And TAA can help with that. It doesn't help on the map, but it helps with your experience in cockpit, because it's still looking great, but doesn't use the same resources as, for example, the next best looking option, which is SSAA. So I hope that does clear up a little bit what's going on in X4 and why it is so heavily dependent on your CPU, because you're basically running a server on your own machine. Ask yourself, is it really important for me to have a icon on a map running smooth from A to B? Or is it okay if it runs at 10 FPS but everything's being calculated properly? And then when I go back into the gaming scene and I have a fluid experience when I'm fighting someone, is that not more important than having a high tick rate that just shows me a little bit more what's going on and I can see my icons running around a little better? And a very important factor, if you're having issues in your first-person view, ask yourself, did I just build myself a mega complex, or did I build myself massive amounts of station in just in a small area and that's causing troubles? Then guess what? My improvements tip would be build your stations further away from each other. That's one thing. Second is lower your graphic settings. And third, if you are experiencing low FPS on the map, just bear with it. This is your server tick rate. If you want to improve that, you need to improve the server, aka your PC. Hope that helps. I don't want to roast any of you. This is just an explanation on what's going on in the background, and I hope you understand the game a little bit better now, and you are going to be more pleased in the future. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. I'm out.